I'm Jeff Cornwall, and this is the Entrepreneurial Mind. Today, my guest is Taylor Allen. We'll be back to talk with her after this. Well, Taylor, so nice to meet you.
Nice to see you.
I've heard a lot of wonderful things about you from our students who've been involved in your business so far, and so let's go back a little bit. All right, so you graduated from Belmont,
Yes.
but never took a class from me or somebody like me.
No.
You were a religion student, right?
Unfortunately, yes. I was actually a religion and the arts major.
Well, that's not
at
unfortunate. That's a good thing.
Unfortunately, I didn't get to take a class with you. Fortunately, I was a religion and the arts major.
Right.
Yeah.
And so in doing that, you got exposed to some pretty horrible things in the world.
Yes. Yes.
Talk about that a little bit.
So being a religion major, I was pretty involved in university ministries, specifically with their immersion programs that were over spring break. So every spring break, I would lead a trip of students to San Francisco to study social injustice. And I fell in love specifically with a nonprofit called Because Justice Matters, and they worked with sex trafficking victims in the San Francisco Bay Area. And that was where I kind of got my feet wet about this whole issue of trafficking, what it was, who was involved, and specifically sex trafficking is where my heart lies.
Talk about just a minute about the magnitude of that problem, because I think a lot of people, it's not something we hear a lot about.
Right.
I mean, I hear a lot about it because there's a lot of passion
Right.
with college students today to fight this, but we don't hear about this very much, and yet it's a huge issue.
It is a big issue, and especially in Nashville, it's a big issue. A couple of years ago, there was a big prostitution ring busted where women who were minors and they were from foreign countries were actually taken into possession. And even last year in Green Hills, there was a massage parlor that was busted where the women were from China, and a man was keeping them in his home in Franklin, Tennessee, and every day he would drive them to this massage parlor where they would give, legal massages.
Right.
And that was just busted a year ago. Or there was a place just right across from Emily Rose down the street that was busted as well. So It's a huge issue.
And when you say underage, I mean, these are young girls. I mean, these are.
Yes. They're
Talk about
12.
how do they get here? I mean, these are girls. We're going to talk about your business here in a minute. Mm-hmm. But you're trying to help girls who are sold into slavery in Cambodia. How does that happen?
I'll speak about Cambodia specifically. A lot of the times the girls are sold into trafficking because their families owe debts.
So mom and dad are so desperate
that a loan shark will come along and he will say, and a lot of times the parents aren't even fully aware what their child is being sold for.
Right.
They're just knowing that, hey, if I give my child to this man for 30 days, he will equal that to the $3,000 loan that I owe him. And so they think that their child might just be working, in a field or a sewing factory. And
they never see her again.
Right, yeah.
And she ends up in the streets in San Francisco or Nashville or
Or
wherever.
she stays in Cambodia in a brothel. I mean,
wow.
Yeah, it's
so
terrible.
Obviously this kind of got you fired up and angry and again, the magnitude of this problem is huge. And so rather than going out and starting a nonprofit to raise money, you've taken a different angle on things. So talk a little bit about Henry Rose and what you do.
So I'm a big believer in, teach a man to fish and he'll fish for a lifetime.
Right.
So that's why I decided to start a for-profit company as opposed to a nonprofit, specifically my own belief. But I believe immensely in income generation and the ability to change lives, whether you've been trafficked, whether you're in, poverty stricken. So I found this wonderful sewing and screen printing center in Cambodia that has the same beliefs that I do, that's run by native Cambodians, which is extremely important to me.
Right.
And they rescue the women from brothels and they give them a chance, basically a chance at a second life. They teach them skills because a lot of these women have been in brothels since they were 9 and they might be now 17. and they have no
So
life
they just
skills.
assume that's what life is.
Right.
This
yeah.
is what I do
They
in
don't know
life.
anything different.
Right.
So I really wanted to empower them that you can have more and you're worth more.
Now, how do they get rescued? I mean, do
It
they have to buy
sounds-
them, or do they have to
Sometimes, yes. A
whisk
lot
them
of
away
times,
in the middle of the night? Or
a lot of the times it's just a man who is trusted by the nonprofit that I partner with to go in and pretend like he is soliciting a child for sex.
right,
And he'll get a room alone with them, and he will say, you know, I'm with this organization. If you want out, like, I can get you out. Here's how. Here's where you will go. They
Wow.
sometimes bring in a girl that they have rescued in the past to speak, or a lot of the nonprofit I work with is very well accepted by the local police in Phnom Penh. So they do a lot of raids as well. The police will go in, but it's not as easy as it sounds.
it doesn't sound easy to me at all. Anyway,
And it's
so,
a lot harder than that, yeah.
So they get rescued,
Mm-hmm.
and then they go to work with your partner organization over in Cambodia, and you're selling nightwear, women's nightwear.
Yes, pajamas.
And so, how did you get to that?
Well, I had been searching for natural resources that were abundant in Cambodia, and originally I had found silk. That
Right.
was, you know, a long tradition of women weaving silk, and I thought, that's wonderful, silk pajamas would be super cool.
Right.
But silk is very expensive, and it's not made as much as it was in the past
Right.
because of the Khmer Rouge genocide that happened in the 1980s, wiped
Right.
a lot of those people out that knew that skill. So then I just ended up sticking with the idea of pajamas because I hadn't seen anybody really doing an ethically made pajama or sleepwear at all for women. And that's kind of how I came around to pajamas for women.
Now, we're seeing a real emergence of social enterprises here in Nashville and across the country as well. And one of the things I've been hearing loud and clear, and this is something I talk to our students about who are interested in this, is, a story is good, but it's the product that matters.
Right.
Are you finding that with your pajamas
yes.
too?
Yes, I actually try to make the story kind of a background noise because I want people to support the company because they love the pajamas first, because that will have repeat customers as opposed to somebody who just, buys something once because they love the mission, but they didn't really like the product, and they're not going to tell anybody like, oh, you got to go get this. It's amazing. I love sleeping in it.
Right.
They're just going to be like, oh, there's this cool company, but the product's kind of
Right.
And, it just isn't as sustainable as I think
Right.
really focusing on product first
Right.
can be.
So you've been operating for how long now?
Well, I've been working on this idea since January, but technically I've been operating since the beginning of October.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So we're just
So
launched.
brand new.
And we're selling pajamas.
Yes, we are selling lots of pajamas, which is so wonderful.
And talk about, how do you market this? I mean, you're an online kind of a site. How have you gotten the word out?
Social media has been a big thing. Going to events around town has been huge as well. Just people find out about me. Belmont's been a great, cursor to have people directed towards my business.
Right.
Just word of mouth is a really powerful tool.
So talk about, and not in details, but talk about financially how your model's set up. I know this is also a challenge for social
Right.
enterprises as they start getting successful and they're not quite sure the best way to apply the funds and so forth. So
Yes.
your primary goal, I assume, is to give gainful employment to the women
Right.
in Cambodia.
Right.
And now you don't own that facility,
No.
is that correct?
No.
Okay, so you're partnering with them.
Yes. So right now I employ about 20 women part-time, which is wonderful. I'd love to be able to employ 20 women full-time. And I'm still honestly trying to figure out the budgeting and accounting and where funds need to go. And I was a religion major,
Yeah.
so this is all very new to me, but talking to people around town has been
Right.
huge.
Right.
The Social Enterprise Alliance at the Entrepreneurship Center is amazing.
Well, and there's a nice community of social enterprise
yes.
people in town. I
Yes.
know you know Patrick over at Nisolo,
Yes.
and there's some good folks that seem to be kind of helping each other a lot.
Yes,
So.
and I've been really encouraged talking to a few people at Nisolo, that I'm on the right track and the struggles I have are okay, and they have the struggles as well and have had the struggles as well. So it's really encouraging to be here.
So there's always milestones with any business. So you're open,
Right.
you're selling, you're paying the bills.
Yes.
One of the challenges is it's got to be good enough for you to make a living as well. You see that in the next year?
Oh, yes, I see that definitely in the next year.
That's awesome.
That's my goal for the next year at least. So I'm headed that way.
Right.
I'm focused.
Well, the product business, that's great. If you can get to the point of
Yeah.
break even and you're getting paid the first year,
Yeah.
that's fabulous. So
Yeah.
it speaks to volumes of what you're doing. So what's the website? Because we want to make sure people go find you.
The website is Henry Rose, and Henry is spelled with an I, .co. So
Okay.
C-O.
And you told me before we went on film that you've named the business after your grandmothers?
Yes, my grandmother's Henrietta and Lillian Rose.
And are they still with you?
Yes, one of
So-
them lives in North Carolina and the other's in San Diego.
So they're seeing their name
Yeah,
carried on. I bet
they
they're
order
just
my pajamas and
thrilled.
they just gush over them.
Oh, that's such a wonderful story.
Yeah, thank you.
So what else? What other advice would you give to anybody doing a social enterprise or thinking about it?
Make sure you really believe in what you're doing, because a social enterprise is a business. You
Right.
can be passionate about, whatever, but you have to really believe in it and just breathe it
in the
every day.
business
In the business and the mission.
and the mission.
Yeah.
How many times have you been to Cambodia?
I've been once, and I'm hoping to go in February.
That's got to be just uplifting to be able to go over there and talk to the people and see
It is.
see what you're doing to help and,
Yeah.
and change things.
It's
So.
my favorite part, definitely.
Well, as a Belmont alum, I can say how proud we are of you. And,
Thank you so much.
And we look forward to having you back and hearing about your progress.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming by.
Thank you for having me.